to Your Mac Life for Wednesday, April 1st, year 2020, show number 1250. Thank you guys very much for joining me here this Wednesday evening. You see, I got a different camera angle. Melissa's not here tonight. She's in a Zoom meeting. So I'm using the iPhone camera to shoot the video. So if you see me looking in the wrong place, it's because I'm not used to that camera over there. And the reason why I'm using the iPhone camera, here's a perfect shot of why I'm using the iPhone camera. So here on the left is the iPhone camera. On the right is the iMac's camera. Look at the difference in color, if nothing else, color fidelity. The iMac camera, sorry, the iPhone camera, this one, this is what my shirt actually looks like. This is the color of my shirt. The iMac camera, this one has got me in a blue shirt. I'm not wearing a blue shirt. The color quality of them is just terrible. So yeah, we're not going to use that camera. But I figured, well, Melissa wasn't here. I could steal her camera and use it. On tonight's show, we are going to be talking to, as always, our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. He's still in Mexico. So we're going to talk to him about how that's going. It's been 3 weeks. It's 2 weeks longer than he expected it to be. Maybe he's got corona. Who knows? No, he doesn't. I'm kidding. Should Apple postpone launches? John Martellaro over at Mac Observer is suggesting that Apple should postpone the launch of the next version of Mac OS, and by extension, obviously, should postpone the launch of the iPhone, postpone the launch of new iMacs or new iPads or whatever Apple's going to do. Apple's not going to do that. That's stupid. Let's see what Jim says. Dark Sky, a very popular weather app on the iOS devices and Android, was bought by Apple, lock, stock, and smoking barrel, and the company's shutting down their Android version of the app. The app is still available on the iOS, and will shut down their APIs in 2021. Well, this sent the Android community into a tizzy. We'll talk to Jim about that. And in our starting point photography segment, did Apple copy this photo? We'll talk about this. This photographer accuses Apple of copying one of their photos. First of all, it's highly unlikely given the team of lawyers and photographers Apple has. And secondly, when you see the photo, you're going to go, is he high? It's not even close. Our good friend... sorry, I didn't forget his name. I just got confused for a second. Our good friend Monty, I was very proud of Monty. He actually made bread, which I think is for the first time, or the first time in a long time. Monty made something up. Monty, what did you make first that came out really? Was it biscuits? I think it was some kind of biscuit that Monty made, and then he made chili in a bread bowl. Unfortunately, his banana muffins. Monty made banana muffins. They came out quite nicely, from what I understand. I haven't tried them. But then his bread didn't seem to work nearly as well as he expected it to do. One of the things, Monty, for that is check your yeast. Your yeast may not have worked properly. Yeast can die or go bad. It's not common, but we just had the same problem. It wasn't old yeast, but it was, anyway. Lesh has joined us in the IRC chat room. Thank you, Lesh, for being here on this Wednesday evening. Did you know you can make your own yeast? I'd always heard that sourdough starters were a thing, but I just assumed it was a deeply complicated thing. Turns out it's not. It's literally flour and water. Let it sit for days on end, and you get yeast. Which is kind of a weird thought when you think about it. It turns out there's wild yeast all around us at all times. It's in the flour already. It's in the air. It's environmental, which is a little disturbing when you think about it. But apparently, if you take equal parts of flour and water and tend to it over a 5 to 7 day period, you'll get yeast. You'll get what's called a yeast or sourdough starter kit. And you can use like a cup of this stuff in your own baking. Not just sourdough, but regular bread baking. The only downside for us here is that it's a temperature-based thing. So you have to have your room temperature be between 70 and 75 degrees for those 5 to 7 days. Now, where we are here in Canada, our room temperature normally is probably around 62. So we're not making any yeast for a while, but you can make your own yeast. It's a fairly easy process. Yeah, Les says you're not making the yeast. It's out in the wild. You're just collecting wild yeast, which is a freaky thing to think about. But Monty's experience notwithstanding, our friend Corey just discovered making bread is actually quite easy. And it turns out a lot of people are discovering, I can't get my glasses clean. A lot of people are discovering how easy it is to make bread. Making bread is just flour and water and yeast and salt, and then you just let it go. Let it be. It's ridiculously easy to make. So if you haven't tried it and you're sitting at home bored and you've got several hours to let your yeast rise, give it a shot. There's a million bread recipes on the internet. If you want Melissa's recipe for it's called Grandma's Italian bread, and it's delicious. Really, really yummy white bread. Send me an email and I'll send it to you. Also, I've got my favorite bread recipe right now is what's called Japanese milk bread. Surprisingly, one of the downsides of homemade bread is that it's tough to slice for sandwiches. You know, you want the thin crust for sandwiches. Generally, when you do homemade bread, you get a fairly thick crust. It's hard to get that thin crust. It's delicious though. I mean, the homemade bread, butter, jam, French toast, grilled cheese. It's great for that stuff. But this Japanese milk bread, you can slice very, very thin, sandwich slice thin. And it uses a different kind of process. Not hard, just a different process than making regular bread. Again, if you want that recipe, either do a search for Japanese milk bread or send me an email and I'll send you my recipe. It's not mine. I got it off the internet for Japanese milk bread. But it's really easy to make. It's one of those things that you thought was complicated, but making bread, all kinds of bread, is ridiculous. Pumpernickel bread. I always thought pumpernickel bread was some sort of fancy ass bread. It's not. It's bread with molasses. It's functionally the same thing as bread, except you put molasses in it. Rye bread, just rye flour. Want to make whole wheat bread? You make whole wheat bread. Just use whole wheat flour. It's really, really simple to make, and I encourage everyone to give it a try while we're all stuck home, waiting for all this stuff to get over with. We're going to talk to Jim about this. I heard this over the weekend here in British Columbia. The kids are just coming off spring break. Yesterday or Monday was the first day, was the day the spring break ended. Kids are supposed to go back to school. Obviously, they're not. So what's happened is the teachers are working to do online learning or distance learning or e-learning, whatever it's called. And someone made a really good comment that you're not working from home. Let me see if I can't find this comment. You're not working from home. You're working in a pandemic. A lot of people think that working from home is easy. It's just doing the stuff you do at the office at home, but it's not. It's actually quite hard. It's not something that most people can just start one day, and then 9 o'clock day one, you're working from home. And what happens is people seem to be putting a lot of pressure on themselves and stressing out over the fact that they can't get as much work done as they could at the office. They get a lot of interruptions because your family isn't used to you being home. Your pets aren't used to you being home. There's a lot of stress involved in that. And we'll talk to Jim about those, what you can do to lessen that stress. There's enough stress already with everything else that's going on. You don't need, there we go, Lesh. That's the quote I'm looking for. Lesh says, yes, the quote I read today, you're not working from home, you're at home you are at your home during a crisis trying to work. And it's not reasonable, hopefully your employer understands this, it's not reasonable for an employer to think that you can be as efficient at home as you were in the office. You don't have the same files. You may not have access to the same computer information, the paper files, the assistants you might have. Melissa works in the school district, and there's an assistant that helps her with the reports that she has to make. And so now she can't just hand things to the assistant or get things signed. There's a whole process they have to go through now. It's different. Melissa's also got issues because of what Americans would call HIPAA violations. We have similar laws here in Canada. She has to be very, very careful of how data gets transmitted. I overheard a call that she was on yesterday with her employer, her boss, describing what the government has said, passed down to people that tell the employees. And one of the things was just, frankly, made me almost want to laugh out loud. The boss, the employer, the government, said, you shouldn't be working from bed. You shouldn't be sitting on the couch and doing this. You should have a proper workspace with an ergonomic chair. People don't have the time, energy, or money to suddenly go and buy a proper office desk or a proper office chair or proper office lighting or anything else. People are making do. They're doing the best they can. And hopefully employers are going to cut office workers some slack and allow them to be as productive as they can be given the situation, given the circumstances. For those of us who are used to working from home, I've been doing it for 26 years, Jim's been doing it for that long, others, one of the biggest things you've got to learn is to, and I still fall into this trap, if you're a 9-to-5 office worker, work from home 9 to 5. Don't take work home. Don't keep working. Oh, I didn't get all my work done today, so I'll work to 7 or 8 or 9. If you didn't get all your work done by 5 o'clock, do the same thing you would do at the office. You'd go home. You just pick it up tomorrow. Don't force yourself to work overtime to try to make up for the deficiencies in the systems or the inability of the system to help you manage in this crisis. Don't expect your family to just leave you alone. The kids are going to, hey, mom's home. Hey, mom, can I have a sandwich? Kind of stuff. You know what? Go take care of the kids. Don't be too strict on that stuff. If you're working in the kitchen, a lot of people don't have office space. If you're working from the kitchen table and the kids want to play, go play with the kids. This is an incredible situation that none of us have ever faced before, and it won't be over soon. This is my prediction. We're going into the summer on this. This is going to take a very, very long time before social distancing and self-isolation and self-quarantining are lifted. Any official or unofficial government edicts, I think, are going to go well into June, maybe early July, just to be on the safe side. A lot of people will stay away for that period of time anyway. There's no point in rushing back to a job that you don't have to rush back to. Biggest thing is stay safe, and we'll talk more about that later on. We're also going to be, in our starting point photography segment, talking about, did Apple copy this guy's photo? No. But we'll explain what the process is and how you can protect yourself if Apple, and they didn't, Apple ever did that kind of stuff. But up next, we're going to talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. Please stay tuned. This is Your Mac Life. Welcome back, folks. Thank you guys very much for joining me here this Wednesday evening on our phone. As always, I've got a good friend, Jim Dalrymple, The Loop, at loopinsight.com. Jim, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Shawn. I think for one of the, maybe only the second time in my history of doing this show, I have a live audience. My fiance is sitting up with her parents, and she texted and said that they were all listening. So,
you want to say hi?
No, I'm fine. But I'm just, I mean, you can't treat me like an asshole. Like,
why can't
I suppose you can.
Yeah, what do I care?
Yeah. Well, that's true. Okay. Never mind. Forget I said anything. But I will say that the first time that I had a live audience, I set my ass pocket on fire with a cigarette that I was trying to put out. And I think you remember, it was probably about 5 years ago or so.
Yeah.
I live on the show. I said, I'm. But anyway, what's new?
So you tired of Mexican food yet?
Oh, I don't eat Mexican. Not much Mexican food. I only know how to order a burrito. A steak burrito with rice and beans and salsa. That's all I want on it. I don't know what the rest of the stuff is. People even in the States, they eat a lot of Mexican food, and I don't know what it is. You know,
but it's not real Mexican food in the States. You know, it's
no.
Americanized Tex-Mex kind of Mexican food.
Well, and the stuff down here is really good. I mean, the burritos and stuff are really good, but I don't know what it is, so I usually have pasta or something.
Yeah, you are not an adventurous eater, are you?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I love my meat and potatoes. Yep. I love meat and potatoes.
How about potatoes and meat?
If some days I try and mix it up, and I have potatoes and meat. I love peas and corn and carrots. Like, those are the staple vegetables.
Yep.
When you start getting into broccoli and asparagus, those things were never meant to be eaten. They were never meant to be eaten. They were meant to grow somewhere and just be okay sitting there in the field. They were never meant for somebody to eat them. See,
I'm the exact opposite. I will put something on my plate. I will try it at least once. I don't care what it is. I'll try anything.
No.
It's funny too, because both of us. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
Both of us being Nova Scotianers, I'm sure you did too. Had a lot of seafood when we were kids. So even as a kid,
I don't. I don't eat fish.
You don't eat fish.
No fish.
That's hard to get away from in Nova Scotia.
It is, but my parents never eat fish either.
Oh, so it's a learned thing.
That was no. It's stinky. It smells. It's awful. It is the most awful thing in the. My grandmother and my parents came. My parents don't eat fish. My grandmother does. They came and brought Atlantic lobster for Eric one trip, and the house stunk like you wouldn't believe.
That's not stink. That's perfume.
And then Erica's parents came one time and cooked some crab, and I thought I was going to have to move. Like, I can't stay here with this stink. It's awful. I don't know how people can sit down, and I can't even smell that well. And I don't know how people can sit down with that stink. It's like eating dirty socks.
That's hilarious. That is hilarious.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the news. Oh, by the way, how are you doing with the social distancing in Mexico? Are you starting to get stir crazy now? Or are you guys still going out but maintaining distance? Give us a sense of what it's like, your day-to-day life down there in Mexico.
Did you see the picture of where I am?
Okay. Yeah. You know what? Let's talk about that picture, okay? Now, there was the previous picture. I don't know if you saw this. David Geffen. You know who David Geffen is, right?
Yeah.
So, did you see this? David Geffen posted on Instagram that he's in the Grenadines on his yacht. Did you see this?
Yes.
This
social distancing, yes.
485-foot super yacht worth $400 million, and he literally posted 2 photos of it on Instagram, with one of them, the caption being, "Sunset last night, isolated in the Grenadines, avoiding the virus. I'm hoping everyone is staying safe. I want to hire a hitman and kill David Geffen." Because we know where he is.
That's why he took his account private, too.
Son of a bitch. Can you believe the tone deafness of this man, that he would say? It's got a crew of 45.
I mean, the tone deafness of a lot of the stars during this has been just overwhelming. I mean,
it's amazing. That you could be that stupid as to say, "Oh, I'm self-isolating on a $400 million yacht."
Yeah. What was it? Drake said that he was in his private basketball court or something. So I feel terrible for you, man.
Now, the best part about it was that someone posted on Twitter, "Hey folks, David Geffen's Malibu home is empty."
Right.
So if you want to go rob it, go right ahead. So then,
besides the 50 security guards.
So then on Twitter, you post your photo playing air guitar for the cruise people with that picture behind you. You're as bad as David Geffen.
Oh, hardly.
Oh,
come on.
The tone is the same.
No, chances are I could fall off this deck at any moment.
But it's a similar tone. I'm just saying. I got the same feeling.
No, you didn't.
I got the same feeling looking at your photos I saw as I did at Geffen. It's like, "Oh, you son of a bitch."
No, I'm like the homeless Geffen. You know. I send you a picture with palm trees in the background. Come on.
No, that wasn't right. That wasn't right.
Geffen would own all the palm trees.
So are things still going well there? Are you going stir crazy now, or are there activities?
No.
I mean, how are things?
Actually, this week, the governor of the state here in Mexico closed everything down pretty much. So, I guess what we were trying to do was to be able to leapfrog when things started to get bad here and get back home.
Yeah.
And, when things were on the downslide, but things still aren't on the downslide. I mean, our county in California is still, terrible, and it doesn't show any signs of getting any better, but we're going back on Friday. So
come hell or high water, you guys are headed back on Friday?
Yep.
Now, when you go back, you'll be forced into self-quarantine, won't you?
So I don't know. I think so. We're going to do that. But according to what United said in an email they sent to us, you may be required to self-quarantine if you exhibit signs of the virus.
Yeah, that's a problem, though, because people can be asymptomatic.
Right. So, we're gonna self-quarantine, and I guess besides the fever and the cough and the shortness of breath, I feel great. But no, I was just trying to make you laugh. I shouldn't joke about that, but no, we both feel really good. It's time to go home because it is going to start hitting here too, and there's always something to be said for being home.
Yeah, if for no other reason than you know where everything is, you know where the takeout places are, you know where the delivery is, you speak the language, obviously. So yeah, I think as much fun as I'm sure you guys have been having down there, it probably is time to come home.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I think there's as many people in Vallarta that speak English as there are in my town. So
in Puerto Vallarta,
it doesn't really matter. Yeah. It doesn't really matter. I mean, there's the same amount of people that don't speak English as there are in my town. So it doesn't really matter.
Let's move on. There's been several stories along these lines, this tone of the latest one is Mac Observer, John Martellaro. The case for Apple to postpone macOS 10.16 into 2021. I've heard articles, people saying Apple should postpone any launches of new devices, new iPhones, new iMacs, new iPads, whatever it might be. Do you agree or disagree that Apple should put all this stuff off for at least 6 months to a year?
Why would they put it off? I mean, the only reason that they would put it off is for a presentation. That's basically it. People still need these, the upgrades.
Yep.
They still need the, WWDC. They still need the APIs. They still need all of this stuff. I mean, yes, we are in a bad situation right now, but everything isn't coming to a complete stop. Yep. We're still moving. So I don't understand the logic behind putting off a release of needed software or hardware other than Apple doesn't get to do its fancy keynote. Now, if Apple's okay with that, I don't know why we shouldn't be.
Well, Martellaro helpfully gives us 4 reasons. Number one is...
Okay, tell me.
Number one is the users. The last thing we need is a new version of Mac OS with traditional teething pains. We don't need any rugs pulled out from under our collaboration apps. Let's focus on stability and security.
What?
Yeah, that's what he wrote. That was a direct quote from John Martellaro.
But that doesn't make any sense, because even if Apple releases the things in a fancy keynote, you still have all of those same issues, if there are any. And admittedly, in the last one there were, but you still have the same issues whether they do a keynote or not.
Yep.
Are we agreed that the only reason that they wouldn't do this is because of a keynote, because they don't get the flash and glitz and stuff like that? Is that?
That's the only logical. That's the only logical reason.
Okay. So given that, I don't see how are there going to be more bugs because Tim doesn't get to stand up on stage and say this is the new one, as opposed to just releasing it.
That's reason number 2. Martellaro says Apple software engineers. I'm guessing that many engineers are working from home, and there just isn't a traditional high-level collaboration like there is in the Apple offices. Corners might be cut.
Oh, no. If Apple right now, if they are just getting those final things done now when this happened, we're in bigger trouble than what we thought. Because they've been working on this for a long time.
Yeah.
So we all know that at WWDC, ask any developer, we all know that the first beta or 4 probably of a Mac OS or an iOS from WWDC are just awful.
Yeah.
They're awful. And that's what they are. The developer betas. They're meant to show you what could be, not what is.
Yep. And
again, I say the last one, not a great test for how it went, because I'm still having problems with some of those. So, but typically that OS right now on it, but the OS for WWDC, they could work on it right up until, and they work on it right up until release.
Yep.
But as stupid as I am, I don't even install it until, like beta 4. So I don't see that as a reason. Now, hold on.
Yep.
He does have a point. I will give him credit that he does have a point that for a lot of this stuff, working from home for the engineers has been different. But are they cutting corners because they're writing code at home instead? They still have the same code, and they still have the same QA. I mean, all of that still has to pass.
Yep.
In order for the OS to be released. So I don't understand that one either. Move on.
Reason number 3, Apple developers. A 6-month delay in 10.16 to provide critical time to iron out the kinks in their apps due to changes in Catalina.
I don't even understand that one.
It literally makes no sense. He's saying that if Apple pushed the next version into 2021, developers would have more time to fix the issues of their apps in the present version of the OS.
Well, but wait, what?
That's what he's saying.
Okay. So a developer has a problem with the current version of the OS
Yes.
and can't fix. So push the entire OS release by a year so that those developers can get them fixed. Now, okay, so if you talk to any developer, if you talk to the engineers at Apple, anybody that writes code, are there bugs in that code? Absolutely. Everybody knows it. They release the software sometimes, well, most times I would say, knowing that there's a bug in there that they just, and now it's probably so obscure that you would never find it. But they find bugs by people testing it, and all developers do their best with QA to test their apps to make sure that, the most egregious bugs are all fixed.
Sure.
Well, then users get a hold of it and they have a different setup, or they have, whatever is going on, and they find more bugs. Well, they fix those. So this is how software works. That's why you see 0.01 releases and 0.1 releases and all of this stuff, because that's what developers do. They continue to do it. Now, I've talked to people at Apple, even years ago, that said, yeah, we released the software. We knew it had bugs in it, but, you release the software. At some point, you have to release the software. And I don't disagree with that. I really don't. I agree with that. So, okay, well, there's three.
Number 4, internet loads. A new version of macOS runs about 5 gigabytes, having millions of users and developers downloading betas and final versions throughout the summer. When internet bandwidth is crucial for those who may still be working from home, seems unwise.
Okay, hold on. Say that one was too long for my little brain. So say that again.
He's basically saying that by Apple announcing...
No. Okay. I want you to actually read the thing.
Internet loads. A new version of macOS runs about 5 gigabytes, having millions of users and developers downloading betas and final versions throughout the summer. When internet bandwidth is crucial for those who may still be working from home, seems unwise.
Okay, so I'm gonna say this slowly, okay, because I think that maybe I have missed something here. So I'm gonna say it slowly to make sure that you understand what I'm saying.
Okay.
During a regular a summer or a fall when these are released, how do developers get their software?
They would download it from Apple servers.
Download it. Okay, so they're not getting CDs or DVDs from Apple, so they're still downloading.
Correct.
So the majority of people that are working from home would probably be doing surfing, selling, reading web pages. How is that going to disrupt internet connectivity and loads?
It's an excellent question.
Okay, so I had a couple of projects that I had to work on today, and I was just like neck deep in stuff all day, and each file that I had to send was 238K.
Okay.
So was somebody not able to download a developer beta today because I sent that 238K file?
That's right. It's all your fault.
And, I realized it was a spreadsheet and it could have been big. I realized that. And there were 4 of them.
Yeah. It really is.
There were 4.
It really is one of the remarkably dumbest things I've read about this stuff in a long time. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Logic completely out the window with anything to do with this. It's just a ridiculous thought process. I said thought process, and I shouldn't have said thought because no thought was given to this. It makes no sense on its face.
Look, I mean, John has been around for a long time. I just don't understand the arguments that he put forward. They don't make any sense to me.
Exactly.
And I have to walk quite a long way to get a new beer. I'm just saying.
Just FYI.
I'm just telling you that This is a lot longer than what I have to walk at home.
That's the real reason why you're going home.
Well, I mean, it's probably that I have to walk here than at home. So I'm getting out.
Let's move on. I was surprised when I posted the story on The Loop. Dark Sky has a new home. The folks at Dark Sky have been bought by Apple, and I was surprised that this was yesterday morning, and not a single comment on The Loop about this. I thought people would just be either up in arms or suggesting alternatives or whatever. It seems like at least the Loop community has accepted this. It's no big deal. Now, on the Android side, holy crap!
Yeah, they're losing their shit over there.
It's like Apple just killed kittens publicly on YouTube. Oh my goodness!
It's like they're here throwing them off the balcony from the 8th floor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now,
go ahead.
Did you use the Dark Sky app?
Oh, I've been using Dark Sky for years.
I've never. I used it when I was in the States, but it doesn't work in Canada, so I didn't use it up here. So I don't know what it's been like the last 5 years. Excellent app. It was excellent in the States. Very accurate. Probably and for me as a motorcyclist, it was very important for me to have accurate weather because I need to know where the rain was and why the rain was coming or not coming. The most remarkable article had this headline: should Apple be allowed to kill one of Android's best weather apps?
Let me see. No, yes.
Maybe.
Yes.
But the best part about it was the fact that comment, which sounds quite socialist to me, if not completely communist to me, comes from Fortune magazine.
Wow.
Apple killing off whatever it wants to kill off is a good example of, wait for it, capitalism. They're not doing it to spite Android users. Well, maybe they are. Who cares why they're doing it? But of course they're allowed to do it, you asshats.
Fortune magazine, the guy who wrote that from his mother's basement probably doesn't remember when Apple bought Logic, which was a much bigger Dark Sky, and shut down Logic for the PC. And then trim the price from $1,200 to $200. Logic is one of the premier apps in the music industry. Yeah. And especially, as we've said before, especially for MIDI. And I even talked to the Apple folks. The audio stuff for me is just not as comfortable as the MIDI stuff, but still one of the premier apps in the entire industry, used worldwide by some of the biggest producers and stars that you can name. And then they buy Dark Sky and get rid of that, and people are all up in arms about that. Yep. I mean, Apple bought it. They're going to integrate it into iOS and macOS, and that's exactly what they should do. I mean, Dark Sky is the best. It tells you, when I'm at home in Redwood City, where I live. So this is in Silicon Valley, where, it will tell you within minutes when it's going to start raining.
Yeah. And
it will say, light rain for 10 minutes and then it's going to stop. And sure enough, it stops. But the big part of all of this, one of the bigger parts for the Android people, is that a lot of the other weather apps use the Dark Sky API to run their apps.
Yeah, that's right.
So they're basically, piggybacking on Dark Sky. Well, that's going to stop too.
Yep.
And I read a story today that said that people were actually going on Twitter saying, "Well, what else can I use?"
Yeah. Well, I don't know. You could probably just go to the App Store and do a search for weather apps.
I'm gonna do my own side.
I think the best one I saw had to be from Michael Simon at PC World, and Michael says, "Killed by Apple, Dark Sky isn't alone in Cupertino's Android graveyard," and he writes, sadly, he said, over the years, Apple has bought some of the best and most beloved apps and left Android users twisting in the wind with no alternative other than to switch to an iPhone. Now, Michael also writes for Macworld. So, Michael, I look forward to your article tomorrow about how many Android apps aren't available on iOS. You asshat! Jesus Christ!
Yeah, it's just it's just kind of weird to think that Apple can buy a company. Obviously, Dark Sky, I mean, for the time being, will exist in an app. Would I be surprised to see Dark Sky just cut off and integrated completely into the OS? Not at all.
No.
Is that what Apple is that what Apple should do? Sure. Yeah. Give it to everybody so that they don't have to download it, or nothing else has to be done. This is all a situation where Apple owns the app now.
Yep.
They and what the companies like Apple typically do, they buy a company either for the technology, the people, or both. I think with Dark Sky, they probably bought it for both.
Yeah.
Because clearly the people behind, as something as simple as a weather app, but so good. I think Apple probably bought the people and the technology to say, you know what does Apple's thing use? Weather.com or, Yahoo or something stupid like that?
I think the Weather Channel.
Whatever. Get rid of that.
Yep.
So will Apple have its own weather app plus integrated into the OS? Yeah, probably. Can they do that? Sure. Why not?
But I mean, as soon as they do that, it kills every other weather app out there. I mean, if you are a developer of a weather app today, find another job.
Well, I don't know. The other weather app that I thought that Apple could buy was Carrot.
Yes.
Carrot's a good weather app as well. And, I don't know if they were in talks with them and decided on Dark Sky, or if Dark Sky just, I mean, if you look at a lot of the sports websites, the weather on the sports, like Major League Baseball and stuff like that, the weather on those sites is brought to you by Dark Sky.
Yeah.
So they were using the Dark Sky API in order to do that. So, I mean, Dark Sky really rose quickly with those, getting the API out there. So the only other one that I would have looked at was Carrot. So, they ended up buying Dark Sky. I think that was a good choice with the API and with all the things that they've got going on. Now, if Apple kills the API for Dark Sky, which they are going to do,
yep.
Are they going to kill it for all of those sites as well, like Major League Sports?
There's no reason why they wouldn't, unless they relicense it to those companies.
So can those companies? I mean, this is where you start getting into some really weird stuff, because if let's say the MLB uses Dark Sky,
yeah.
Can the MLB then use Dark Sky in its app? And if they can use it in their app, so Apple is just telling people that it can't use Dark Sky in Android.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's probably even too far out to look at something like that. But I do know that other websites, sports websites, use Dark Sky API. So I'm just wondering if they're going to cut it off completely, or if they're because there are ways around. Android could use a web API, put the web API into a wrapper on an app and have a weather app.
Sure.
So, I mean, those are all things that could happen. But I think it's good that Apple bought them. Put it into the OS and be done with it.
It always cracks me up, though, these people who are nominally in favor of capitalism, when capitalism rears its head in a way they don't like, they all get all up in arms and turn socialists and communists on themselves. It's utterly hilarious.
I am up in arms tonight, too.
Why?
Because of Dark Sky.
Okay. All right, fine. Moving on, something else to be up in arms about. Apple, Google, and Microsoft are failing U.S. students during the COVID-19 crisis. Mm-hmm. How are they failing students, you might ask? Well, Fast Company, again, a capitalist-favoring magazine, says that Apple, Google, Alphabet, and Microsoft could buy every vulnerable American student a $1,000 laptop. Actually, they could buy every K-12 student 8 laptops. These people are literally suggesting that Apple, Alphabet, and Microsoft step in to where the government should be doing this and provide these tools for every K-12 student in America. Do you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely.
No, you don't.
No, I don't.
That's just stupid.
Look.
I'm a freaking Canadian socialist. I think it's a stupid idea.
No, look. Apple is a company that has a couple of responsibilities. One is the fiduciary responsibility to its shareholders to make sure that they continue to make money. Now, for Apple, that is actually not the first priority.
No.
Apple's first priority is to continue to make products that people want to buy. Steve Jobs made that very clear years ago. Tim Cook has made that very clear since then.
Yep.
That is what Apple's number one priority is. The second priority, which comes from the first priority, is that if you make great products, people will buy those great products.
Yes.
That is what it's all about. And if you don't make great products and you screw up, then people aren't going to buy them. Your stock is going to dive, and the shareholders are going to be up in arms. Most people, Microsoft and Google, I think go, and most other companies, even the washing machine company, GE, whatever, go about it the opposite way. They look at what will sell so that their stock price will go up. Unfortunately, what they make is shit, and then they end up not having a good product. If they change the strategy of those companies and said, okay, let's make a great washing machine or a great stove and forget about everything else, what would that cost? Well, it's going to cost $300 more than the next highest product. Let's do that. And it would be so good that people would come and buy it, and you know what? Their stock would go up. And their responsibilities on both ends of design and financial would be taken care of. And that's how Apple beats most companies in the market today.
Yep.
So should Apple buy every student? No, they shouldn't. Should the government? No. I don't think the government should either.
Well, if anyone should, it should be starting off with the government. But the remarkable line on the Fast Company article says, as we face this pandemic, the 3 greatest American technology companies should be paying back their profits, not to stockholders on dividends, but to the consumers who stacked their profits in the first place. Think of it as an educational stimulus package, but instead of being funded by taxpayer dollars, it's funded by the corporate profits of the last decade.
Well, look, if these people want the companies and the government to buy their computers and everything else, then there are countries in the world that do that. Go live there.
Yeah.
See if you can get in, because not many of those countries actually like Americans.
Yeah.
So see if you can get in and go there and live, and you will pay, over 50% of your wages in taxes, because this stuff has to get paid for. You can't expect a publicly held company, and you can't expect, like Jeff Bezos, to fund computers and fund things for individuals. You can't. Is it wrong that Jeff Bezos is worth $134 billion? No, it's not. It is absolutely not. Now, is it wrong that he doesn't pay taxes? Yeah, there's something messed up there. There is something definitely messed up there.
Hang on. You're mixing up Amazon and Jeff Bezos. Amazon pays no taxes. Bezos does.
Oh, well, okay.
And while I've got you interrupted, it is wrong that Jeff Bezos personally is worth $134 billion. It's
Here
obscene.
we go.
It's
You're
utterly obscene when his employees make less than $15 an hour. That's obscene.
How do you think he got $134 billion?
Off the backs of the workers.
Right. Okay.
That's obscene.
Karl Marx. I mean,
did you see the quote? Everyone's patting this guy in the back. The guy from the Columbia Sports Goods Company, they make the jackets and stuff, is getting all these props because he's cutting his salary so that 3,000 of his employees can get paid. And my comment on Twitter was, if your salary is so effing high that it can pay for 3,000 people, either you're making too much money or they're not making enough money. The salary compensation for CEOs versus their workers is wildly out of step with reality or legality or morality or anything that you could possibly imagine. No, Jeff Bezos should not be worth $134 billion. And while I agree that Amazon and Apple and Microsoft shouldn't be buying equipment for schools, I think Jeff Bezos should. I think billionaires should.
Oh, my God. Okay, so you're so wrong. And I don't even know where to start with how wrong you are.
Find some place to start.
Okay, so it can't be wrong for an individual to come up with an idea out of his bedroom to start a company that is one of the most successful companies in the world, and to be able to profit beyond monetary belief, because that company not only has a good reputation, but they also have, they're able to now deliver. Sometimes I can order from Amazon where I live anyway. I can order from Amazon and have stuff delivered that day.
Sure.
I mean, why shouldn't Jeff Bezos may be able to? Now, is he paying his workers, $10 less than what everybody else is? No.
Yes, he is.
He's paying. No.
Yes, he is.
Not.
He is.
Oh my God!
Look at what a Costco employee makes, averaging $20 to $25 an hour, versus what an Amazon employee makes, averaging between $9 and $11 an hour.
Across the country?
Average, I said.
Where? But where? What's the average? In one city? Across the country? Where?
Average across the country.
You don't know that because you didn't say that right when I asked you. You don't know that that's what the average is.
I'm clarifying what I said. It's average across the country.
No. Okay. So if Costco, they can go to Costco. That's what capitalism is all about. You don't like work here? I'll go somewhere else.
It's not that easy, and you know it.
Well, I'm just saying the option is there.
Not for everybody.
Why not?
Regardless of the option, you're putting the onus on the worker to go find better employment, to go find a higher paying job. When the
onus has always been on the worker.
And it shouldn't be.
Why do you think that people move from one company to the next?
There ain't any number of reasons. Certainly the salary is one of them.
Right. That's one of them. Benefits, things like that. That's all part of it.
Jeff Bezos could raise the salary of every single one of his Amazon warehouse employees to $25 an hour, and it would put no dent in his personal wealth. From his own personal pocket, not Amazon's, but from his personal pocket, he could easily spend the money from his own personal wealth and raise the standard of living for 400,000 Amazon workers. And yet he doesn't do that. That's morally incomprehensible.
Oh, okay. And what?
I mean, is there more?
This wouldn't happen in Denmark. It wouldn't happen in, some of those countries, which by the way, I love.
Which is why those
But
countries have a higher standard of living than the U.S. and Canada.
absolutely, I'm not disagreeing with you, but we're talking about here. Oh well, there where I am, but we're talking about the U.S. Should the U.S. fund public programs? Should U.S. companies fund public programs?
No, we agree
they
on that.
should not. But okay, so you're saying that U.S. companies shouldn't fund public programs, but billionaires should.
Yes.
So are you going to go tell Vladimir Putin that?
The hell? What's it got to do with Putin?
Well, now we're moving into a totally different thing, aren't we?
It's not. It's a different country. It's a different continent. It's a different political system. Jesus.
Oh, wait, a different political system than, say the socialist that you are.
Yes. I have no problem being a socialist.
I know you don't. But, and I understand that there are a lot of people that agree with you these days. And I, as fundamentally as I would like to see everybody happy and, wealthy, and I think we should all be geffing out on our what is it, 140-foot yacht or something?
No, dude, 140 foot? Were you kidding me? That's what his tender is. It's 457 feet long.
Oh. Well, that's a cruise ship.
It's a football field and a half big. Anyway, it's just obscene. Let's move on. You and I have worked. You and I have worked from home for many decades. 26 for both of us. There's an interesting comment or article on the New York Times. Stop trying to be productive. Because I've mostly forgotten what it was like back in the early days of trying to work from home. But what do you think are the biggest challenges for someone trying to work from home that they should be aware of as they try to do this? They try to manage this kind of issue that they're having.
I think that now we're in a totally different situation.
Sure.
And I said before, when I started working from home, you either work or your family doesn't eat.
Yeah.
So that brings a lot of incentive.
Yeah.
To actually get the work done, because when you do a startup and it's not working, you have to explain to your kids why they can't eat tonight.
Yep.
And that's a very difficult thing to do. So you work, which I'll admit, these people that are complaining about working from home and, how do I find the not strength, the determination or whatever to work from home when I could just watch Netflix. Well, how about you have a job?
Yeah.
There's your reason to want to work. You have a job. If these people that are saying this have corporate paying jobs that are paying them to stay at home, and they're whining about working from home. Well, I worked from home. I had 2 kids. Same things that you are going through right now, except I didn't have a paycheck at the end of the month, guaranteed. I had to make that money. So you want to talk about tough? Don't tell me about your whiny little problems about I have kids and I have this stuff and I watched Netflix this afternoon and now I don't know what to do because I'm not motivated to work. You know what? Then you should get fired.
You know what? When I came up with the story idea, I thought you'd be a lot more sympathetic.
I am not sympathetic at all. I am absolutely not sympathetic at all. I am not. because and the reason why is just what I laid out. These people are getting paid by a company to go home, stay home, and work. That's all we want. Do your work at home, but get your work done. And I'm hearing people saying about how unmotivated they are and stuff. You know what? Then you should be fired. You should not have that motivated enough for your own family to work. You should be fired.
But one of the points I made earlier in the show, and I would make here.
I don't care about your points. Now you got me upset. I'm going to start throwing beer bottles off the deck here.
Well, what I'm about to say will get you even more upset. Is that employers can't expect employees to be 100% productive in a completely different environment on such short notice. I was saying,
I'm going to get another beer.
I was saying earlier, Melissa's job, her school district, is telling employees that they should have a separate workspace with a ergonomic chair, an ergonomic desk, and a monitor set up, and all those kinds of things. They only told folks about this shutdown a couple of weeks ago. Not everyone has the money to throw at a $500 desk and a $300 chair and a $500 monitor. Not everyone can be set up instantly for work from home for any number of reasons. And then, again, the workspace issue. A lot of these people are working off their kitchen table now with their kids and their dog next to them, wanting to be taken out for poops and then to walk the dog. You know, right. I mean, you can't expect people to be 100% productive in this kind of environment.
Look, I worked from home for probably the first 10 years before I had anything even resembling a chair that was comfortable. So don't tell me you need an ergonomically friendly chair need a
I'm saying her employer has said that they need that.
You need a stand-up desk, and I need a treadmill, and I need to be... No, what you need to do is still earn the money that this company is paying you. Imagine these people if they were being paid based on the amount of work that they were getting done. Now, some of these people, I understand, have never worked at home. Some of them feel like they need to get up in the morning and put on a suit in order to feel like they're going to work. And well, whatever gets you there. If that's what it takes, you need to get up and do that, then that's fine. But get the work done. That's what the company said. If you don't want to get the work done, then you need to leave that job.
You are surprisingly unsympathetic.
I am the most unsympathetic person in this that you will ever see in the world.
Yeah.
Because I have been there, and I have been there for 26 years. So there is nobody that is going to come to me and whine about, oh, I have to work at home, and I have kids, and oh, I watch Netflix, and, it's hard to concentrate. And, well, do you like to eat? Do you like the place that you live? If you don't, then keep whining, not doing your work, and you will get fired, which, of course, will never happen because these people will never get fired, not in the situation that we are now. But Shawn, it honestly does bother me. It really, really does, because people ask for motivation to go to work. You have a family. You have a house or an apartment or a condo or whatever it is. Your motivation is that you want to live, you want to eat, you want to provide for your family. And, I think it's ridiculous that we have to baby people and give them reasons to want to go to work. If somebody came to me and said, I don't really have a reason why I need to be here, great, you're fired. Get out.
Yeah, well, that's a whole different story. We're talking about people who are trying to do their regular job. who are happy to do the regular job. They just may not have the facilities to do it.
Oh, you don't need facilities. You know what my facility is to do my regular job right now? A lawn chair. And I'm not talking in Mexico. I'm talking at home. I have a lawn chair. That is my facility. You know why? Because we have so many people staying at our house so often that my facility is in a gazebo outside in a lawn chair. I have an ashtray sitting there and I work. That is my facility. And you're telling me that these people that have houses and comfy apartments and and they don't have a facility to be able to work? Come on. Come on. Of course they do. They're just not willing to do it.
I just want to point something out, though, that Jim is the publisher of The Loop, a website, loopinsight.com, a website where we post stories about the goings-on in our world, both Mac and Apple and iPhone related, but also personal ones. Jim has not posted.
What are you going to get people? Are you going to get people to dox me now, or what?
Jim has not posted to The Loop since March 18th. All right? So you haven't done shit since the 18th. So don't give me this crap about how hard you're working. You've been sitting on a beach in Mexico since March 19th.
What's coming to you tomorrow?
What?
Your pay. And do you know why you get your pay tomorrow?
Because you set it up so I could?
Because I've been working so goddamn hard that we have money to be able to send you your pay.
You're the Jeff Bezos in this story. Dave and I are the Amazon workers.
I am clearly not the Jeff Bezos in this story. I'm clearly not that. I will guarantee you that. But there's a lot that goes on my side that you don't see. There's a lot that goes on your side that I don't see.
I know, I'm kidding you.
But no, I know, but that is the thing. Like, everybody has their thing to do. Do it. Just do your job. And this, I fully understand that this whole coronavirus thing and the pandemic is terrible. And if you think that working at home is your most terrible thing, no. The people that are affected by this disease, that is the most terrible thing. So, our working at home, I honestly thought, Shawn, before this happened, I would have said, absolutely, everybody's used to working at home. But they're not.
Yeah.
Apparently, they're not. I would be the worst HR manager in the world. By the time I'd left a 100,000 people company, there'd be nobody left.
Exactly. You and the CFO.
I'd be the only one. I'd even fire the CEO. You know what? Stop whining. You're fired. You're fired.
You're fired. Folks, I've been talking to Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. Jim's here each and every week, even when he's relaxing in the sunshine of Mexico. Thanks, Jim.
Well, this will be it. Next week, I'll be back home, and we'll be talking from there.
That's fine. We've had fun while you were in Mexico, so I have no problem you staying there.
All right.
Talk to you later, buddy.
Noted. Thank you, Shawn. Bye.
Thanks very much to Jim for doing that. Oops, I screwed up. There we go. Thanks very much to Jim for doing that. There are internet issues all over the place. I'm getting reports from Monty saying I'm getting round trip times, the ping times over a second. There's a network router somewhere has gone down, taken down like a third of the internet. YouTube is screwing up. The network in the Southeast is not happy. All the folks in the chat room are telling me that it's buffering and going to hell in a handbasket. So we're just going to use the segment, the last half hour carried over till next week, and hopefully things will get better. So we're just going to wrap this thing up tonight. Hopefully, if you have any, as always, you have any thoughts or comments about anything that Jim says, unsympathetic bastard. Send me emails to Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com, and hopefully we'll be back to normal as of next week's show. Until then, I've been Shawn King, and you've been listening to Your Mac Life. See ya!